it's June, and I don't know if you know this, but June is an immense month for myself and the Chugs, my friend here today, because it's announcement month. They've been announcing video games left and right, and today this whole episode is going to be dedicated to some announcements from Summer Game Fest, Devolver Digital, the PC Game Show, and we just watched the Xbox Showcase, so I can tell you this, we're pretty excited, aren't we, Chugs?
I'm on cloud nine. Like, again, this time of the year as a gamer is some of the most exciting times ever. I'm so excited and so stoked about everything that's gone down. Seriously, like right now, I just feel like I want to shout from the mountaintops how much I love video games. Because I do. I love video games. I am so thankful to be a gamer. This is such an awesome, exciting time. I mean, we were chatting even before we went live on the podcast. I can't contain my excitement. I'm so stoked to talk about this.
Oh yeah, we're like rocket fueled right now. We both cannot wait to talk about this. Before we get into that, there has been some news throughout this week, and also we have news about we talked to you about our game suggestions to each other. I suggested to the Chugs that he should play The Witness. He suggested that I should play Ender Lilies. We are actively playing those games. We just started it. We had a discussion. There's so many games that we have to talk about today with all the announcements. We're actually going to do a longer piece about it next week so that both of us can get a little more time into them. And to be truthful, I've played nothing else but Ender Lilies this week. I didn't do a whole lot of gaming, but what I did do is I did play Ender Lilies. So next week, both of us will get deep into the weeds about both The Witness and Ender Lilies.
Which will be great because it gives us even more time to kind of dive into these games, I think. So we'll have a more extensive look at the two titles that we recommended to each other. So yeah, next week for sure.
So, but since we're not going to talk about the games we're playing this week, we will start with the news of the week, and then right after our breaks, we will get into Summer Game Fest, Devolver Digital, PC Game Show. There was a lot of stuff, and Xbox Showcase, which I think we could say at the upfront, if I know there's a little more announcements coming out, but I think Xbox won it this time.
Oh my God. Yeah, very quickly, seriously. Again, like you said, Uno, the past couple of weeks, it's been great for news with the State of Play, Summer Game Fest, Day of the Devs, Devolver Digital, the PC Gaming Show. I enjoyed all of the shows, but Xbox hit a grand slam. If there was a winner for a showcase over these past 2 weeks, I think it's very safe to say that Xbox is the winner. They came out swinging.
Oh yeah,
and they definitely succeeded. It was a crazy show.
Yeah, so we're gonna dissect all of it a little bit later, but before that, some news for the month of June, and it starts. You know what? Surprisingly, with AEW, AEW Fight Forever is June's PlayStation Plus monthly game. That's right. If you are a PlayStation Plus user right now, you can go and get Fight Forever right now on your PlayStation devices. You can get on PS4, PS5, and play it right away. I believe it is also with Streets of Rage 4 is available as well this month, and the latest SpongeBob remake game, which is surprisingly good. I will say, pretty fun collectathon.
Yeah. To me, that's a great PlayStation Plus lineup for June. I mean, again, all of those games, if you are a PS Plus subscriber, you get all of those games for absolutely free. So definitely try them out. All three of them.
Yeah, give them a shot. If you've been sitting out on AEW Fight Forever, now is your chance. And also, if I believe, if I'm still correct by the time this comes out, the DLC on PlayStation, if you're a PS Plus member, is on a percentage off. I cannot remember off the top of my head how much, but now is your best chance to get all the content if you are interested, and get that game for free if you haven't played AEW Fight Forever. It's available right now. Play it on PlayStation Plus, also on all consoles and PC if not. Other game news for this week. This one's a pretty interesting one. I'm not quite sure how it's going to come out, but it was announced that Like a Dragon is going to get a TV series on Amazon Prime later this year. Amazon Prime seems to be investing in a lot of video game projects recently, and you know, I like Yakuza. I like a Dragon. I'm very curious to see how, you know, the melodramatic / weird world that they have will expand on a TV show. But I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but I do want to bring one thing up because we had a discussion about this a couple days ago. We talked a little bit about Fallout, the TV show, and we said we were going to watch it. You made some pretty bold claims now that you've finished it. I'd like to give you the floor so that you can go and
Yes,
tell me
did.
about Fallout.
And first of all, again, I actually have very little experience with Like a Dragon, the Yakuza series, but I do know that the story is incredibly interesting, incredibly intriguing. The Yakuza fan base is huge, and I know the games can be a little bit wacky, a little bit wild, but again, with great stories. So I am very excited to see what happens with this TV show. But again, speaking of TV shows, Uno, I'm not kidding. I really stand by this. I have loved video game adaptations when it comes to television, whether it's the Halo, specifically season 2, the Witcher series, The Last of Us. I think, Uno, and I'm standing by this, I think Fallout is the greatest video game adaptation television show of all time. All time. I mean, again, the show did such an excellent job, and I won't spoil anything at all, but it does this thing in a way that is so intriguing that I've never seen done so well before. And that is, it really pays tribute to fans of the game series. There are constantly little nods and Easter eggs to things within the game, where as a gamer, you get really excited about this being in the television show. But it also tells its own story where it's completely captivating for someone who has never played a Fallout game before. The show is so well written, so well acted. At the end of every single episode, I was like, I gotta watch another one. I binge watched this show so fast. I think I watched the whole series in 2 days. And they're like hour episodes, and there's like 8 episodes. But the show is absolutely incredible. So much so that I understand why everyone wanted to go back and play Fallout. I actually picked up Starfield again this week just because it was Bethesda and kind of in that Fallout-esque world. Even though obviously it's not the same game, but it's, Fallout in space maybe in a lot of ways. But again, seriously, the video game television show, video game movie situation that we are in right now is just beyond excellent. I can't wait. If they do Fallout Season 2, I certainly hope so, but definitely worth a watch. And if video game adaptations like Fallout and The Last of Us continue this way, I see no reason why Like a Dragon Yakuza is not going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome.
It's fun to hear, especially, a lot of people have been talking to me about how Fallout has been good. I haven't had a chance to watch the TV series, but everyone is like, it respects the lore. It's got a lot of cool tidbits. All the imagery is there. The acting is incredible. They really realize the world of Fallout. And the thing that excites me the most of it is that the care that they put into this from Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime investing further into TV series about video games, just means that hopefully, if this Like a Dragon series is nearly as good as this Fallout one, Amazon Prime might be like a monster when it comes to this video game adaptation stuff. If they're willing to give it that much care, and I think they will, because they own Twitch, they understand the viability of video games and video game fandom. So very excited to see what is going to be on the slate of future shows that they will be releasing.
Yeah, same here. Very excited.
Other news, and you know what? Because it's a podcast where me and Chugs are here, it's gotta be brought up. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree has hands-on reports, and most of them, I believe, they had a limitation of 3 hours for their early on hands-on reports, and everyone has pretty much said it's incredible. The beauty of it, and I think this is what was so cool about the original game too, is that I read a few of these reviews, and most of the hands-on reports were different. A lot of people addressed different sections at different times, or at least did not go through the same path right away. And so it means that even on a smaller scale, although it was revealed that this is not a very small game, this is going to be a 40-plus hour game with an incredibly large map. It seems it still holds that principle of Elden Ring, where whatever you see, you can head off to, and you can head off into any direction and kind of make it your own. So very excited, man. I know it was gonna get great reviews. I know people are gonna love it, but
because it's Elden Ring, of course.
Yeah, but it's nice to read that that isn't in fact the case, because we're 2 weeks away. We're only 2 weeks away, and it's insane that we're so close.
It is so wild that we're so close to this DLC because, again, going off what you said, listening to and watching a bunch of these hands-on previews, which, again, like you said, it was about 3 hours of playtime. There are so many aspects to this that has me so excited. First and foremost, like you said, one of the things that I loved so much about Elden Ring was that sense of discovery and that sense of wonder. And it seems like within this DLC, they've captured that tenfold. And it seems like we're going to get a lot more of that. Second of all, they've added so many cool new mechanics within the game. Like I think there's 8 new weapon classes.
Yeah, like perfume bottles. There's
yes,
there's like
claws,
whole different systems entirely. Yeah,
smaller great swords and then great sword katanas. There's like a martial arts ability now.
Yeah, complete hands-on, but yeah, it seems incredible. It seems insane.
It really does. And then this also had me really excited, Uno, is again, I've heard from a couple of people who played, and at this point they are guessing, but a lot of people who played for that 3 hours said that tops, they feel like they completed maybe 10% of the DLC.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear.
Which is fantastic to hear because I want it to be long. I want it to be huge. And we know it's going to be. And it seems like we're going to get a bunch of lore implications as well, a bunch of new items to collect, a bunch of new NPCs.
And I heard it's very challenging too.
It does.
Yes.
That's because I am so excited for the bosses. Again, Miyazaki and From Software are notorious for adding some of the toughest fights in gaming in the DLC of their games. And we already had Millennia. So I don't know what they're cooking up with the Elden Ring DLC, but I know it's going to be tough and it's going to be awesome.
I know they've disclosed that you should be about level 120 if you're going to be going into this DLC. So that's, in a lot of ways, that's roughly when I beat the game, was around 120 to 130. So yeah, it must mean it's only more challenging than what we were seeing towards the end. So I'm very, very excited. I know we're gonna talk so much more about it, but
I know
reading it is.
Uno, I did want to ask you. Now, did you start New Game Plus, or do you have your same character?
So I have my same character in a save, and I started a brand new save just to try and get myself back into the swing of things. I told myself I would beat it again. I don't think that'll be the case. Within 2 weeks, I'm realizing that, this game was very, very hard. There was a reason it took me 100+ hours. But I do want to get back into the swing of things so that I can just jump right back to the DLC and not feel completely lost for sure.
Yes. Good call.
So Elden Ring, in a few weeks, we will be talking more about it. If you're a fan of this podcast, or a fan of us, you know how much this means to us. I'm very excited to see. There's so much, man. There are so many cool games coming out this year.
It's unbelievable.
It's insane.
Unbelievable.
And they've announced that we'll talk about it later, but the DLCs they've announced this year also insane. A great lineup, including one that came out this weekend.
Yes.
Last couple pieces of news before we get into the showcases. PlayStation VR 2 players can now access PC games through an adapter starting in August, which means that if you have, the Valve Index or you have MetaQuest 2 through your PC, you will now be capable of playing those video games through your PlayStation VR 2. The only issue is that it will not have the stuff that is unique to PlayStation VR 2, like HDR function, the extra wide angle, because they have I think the longest format for video. Some of that stuff will not be included with those games because those games were not made for PSVR 2, but you will be able to play your VR games in general starting in August, which is very exciting.
It's very exciting. I love that because VR as a platform for gaming is still fairly new. I know new games are being added all the time, but any situation where whether you own a PSVR 2, a MetaQuest 2 or 3, a Valve Index, the chance to be able to play more VR games is better for me. And that really, really opens up a lot of new experiences for PSVR 2 players. That's great.
Yeah, but very exciting. I mean, I'm one of them as well. I owned an Index, then I owned a Quest, and there's still all of these other experiences, like PSVR 2 experiences that I wish I could have, but I didn't want to buy one knowing that I had another headset. Knowing now that I might be able to, cross-pollinate the systems and play a little bit of the other games, it will probably get me to get a PSVR 2. And hopefully we'll get other people to keep supporting VR, because It's hard to say that it is the future of video games, but it is definitely a future of one path of the video games. I think there's a whole side of video games that can only be done on VR, and I'm really really excited to see the further exploration and discovery of what we can do with the system.
Yeah, because I think VR is a very important niche. Like within the gaming world. Of course, we have like our consoles, our handhelds, arcades. VR is a very, very cool and unique experience within the world of gaming. Do I think it will overtake the classic using a controller and watching a screen? Absolutely not. But I do think it's very important that it exists. And it's awesome. So some of the most wild experiences I've had in gaming have been in virtual reality. So this is awesome.
Yeah, and just the practical effects of it, because there are people who use the VR headsets and built systems to, learn how to do surgery and crazy things that there is practical uses to. So I think further advancement of that stuff is only good for the world of video games and the world at large. And so very cool to see that, PlayStation could have held back and kept all their stuff to themselves and make sure that you don't buy video games on PC and rather just buy them solely on their system. But by opening this up, we'll hopefully open up more people to buy PSVR 2 as well.
You're right.
And then this last little one, it's not a big one, but it's one that I wanted to talk about. Nightmare Kart, the Bloodborne-inspired PSX-styled racing video game, has just come out. It's a free game that includes 21 racers that is heavily, heavily inspired by Bloodborne. There was a point in time that this was publicly a fan game that was a Bloodborne kart. I believe that Sony may have contacted them to change that, but very cool that they did not have to break apart their entire project. They have now released it. If you get the chance, go check it out. I saw videos of it. I've not tried it yet because I've not played a whole lot this week, but I will give this a shot. I like kart games. I like Bloodborne. I don't see this being a game that will be very difficult for me to get into, so I'm definitely going to be giving it a shot.
I also love the PSX art style as well.
Yes.
I love that that's kind of making a comeback because I have so much nostalgia with that form of graphics. And also I hear this game also has a campaign and like boss fights.
It does.
And stuff like that too, which is absolutely wild. It sounds very fun and definitely a game I'd like to check out. Again, when I hear Kart Racer and Bloodborne, I'm sold.
I'm in. And talking about PSX stuff, there's been recent examples of games that have blown up with that style. There's a whole slew of horror games. Crow Country that just came out. Crow Country just came out that was PSX styled. It looks like a Resident Evil 1 game and kind of works with that kind of tanky mechanic. Their Lorelei and the Laser Eyes that I just played has the same type of graphics and stuff. So we're seeing somewhat of a resurgence of the low poly stuff, and I like it because I think that's our generation. Very cool to see. Very cool to see.
Yeah. It was especially there's this developer Puppet Combo, and they've made games in the PSX style. There's this one game, Murder House, which is literally like a traditional Resident Evil game with great music, those classic Resident Evil graphics. I do love because pixel art, obviously the 8-bit and the 16-bit, that's made quite the resurgence as well. But now I love that PSX is also falling into that category as well. So keep bringing them.
Yes, please.
I'm excited about it.
Variety's the spice of life. Is that what that?
The spice of life.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
it.
Thank you. I'm not very good at my soliloquy.
Oh, you nailed it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll be right back after this break with our very first showcase. You might tell from our voices, you might tell from our video, youtube.com/AWGames, where you can watch this podcast. We're excited. We're excited because nothing to me is more fun than the month of June when new games get announced, new trailers get dropped, we get dates. Last week we talked about State of Play, and Sony showed a ton of great games. Astrobot,
Great showcase.
Great showcase. Astrobot
Great
being the title game for sure. This week, it starts with Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. It was last Friday, and it did not disappoint. A lot of very, very cool games. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through not the entirety of the list. You know, this podcast can't be 4 hours long. I wish it could, but also we have personal lives to get to. And I also think for yourselves, our listeners out there, it's much better if we summarize this a little bit. But we're going to go through and say the games we are interested in.
And I'm very sorry, very quickly, just again, Jeff Keighley keeping that spirit of E3 alive is so great, because we have Summer Game Fest in June, and then we have the Game Awards in the holiday months. So it's just, I'm so thankful that we get some semblance of in E3. But anyway, go ahead.
Yes, and you know, like E3 was always a dream of mine to go to. So now thankfully, there are other events. IGN Live took over that slot in Los Angeles, and Summer Game Fest is one that you can attend to in person.
Yes.
So now I have new goals in life, and that is now one of them. But let's get to the video games. I will say about the Summer Game Fest. Usually it's a lot of larger publishers. This year, a lot of newer publishers and independent publishers. It was a very wide variety of video games. So it was very exciting. It all started, and I was very confused at first, with a new Lego game, but not any Lego game. It's actually a Lego Horizon Adventures. Horizon being the PlayStation exclusive video game where you hunt robotic dinosaur animals. Is now in a Lego format. It will be a multiplayer game on PC, PlayStation 5, and even Nintendo Switch, which is very surprising. Well, I mean, those games, the Lego games are perfect for that kind of system. If it's holiday 2024, my opinion of this, I'm excited for it. I like the Lego format. I like the Horizon games a whole lot. I don't know if this will be the first game I rush to in the holiday, but this is definitely one that I will give a try at the end of the year for sure.
Yeah, same here, Uno. And to me, I think the thing that's exciting about this, aside from the fact that the Lego games are notoriously very, very good, I think this is such a smart move by PlayStation, because when you look at like the top IPs from Sony, you know, God of War, The Last of Us, Spider-Man, I certainly think that Horizon is in that top 5. And Horizon also has this great ability to kind of like safely appeal to children as well. Like, it's not so far in the mature range to where kids couldn't enjoy it, specifically a Lego game. So I think this is really, really smart. And I think, again, it's a Lego game. It's Horizon. I'm 99.9% sure that this is going to be a fun one, both for children and for adults.
And there was a previous Horizon play set, you know, so this was probably a precursor to this game being made. So, and like, if you've played the original games, the dinosaurs are built in a way that they are mechanical, but they're parts laid on top of parts. You can actually detach those parts by attacking specific parts of it. And so it makes a ton of sense to actually contextualize it in Lego. So like, seeing the combat, I was like, oh yeah, this makes a ton of sense. Like, I can understand why the tail would fall off and you would detach it and so on and so forth. Right. It looks cool. It looks very, very cool.
It does.
Like I said, some of these games we will talk a little bit about, not a whole lot. This is one of them for me. No More Room in Hell 2 is an 8-player co-op zombie game. It looked very neat. Not a whole lot of 8-player co-op games. This one seems to be, it has permadeath as well, which is a very, I wouldn't say odd. It is a unique trait for one of these type of games, because usually co-op does not have that. Yeah, exactly. There's actual stakes at play. Your character could die forever. I used to play Diablo 4 or Diablo 2, sorry, on Nightmare mode, where you actually had permadeath and your character was at all times potentially erased forever, and it made those experiences so much more exciting, because
I'm stressed just thinking about that. Uno.
I was very stressed. Let's say I did it once or twice, and then afterwards I couldn't do the pain more than twice. But very excited for this one. I'll probably give it a try. I don't think they announced a date, but looks cool.
I think for sure, me as well, because I do love your classic, like, Left 4 Dead or the fairly recent Back 4 Blood. So I love co-op zombie games. I think they're super, super fun. So this is definitely one I'll probably check out with some buddies.
Yep. Another game, this one is in the Harry Potter world. Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, which is a fully realized Quidditch game. If you're a Harry Potter fan, that is the sport they play when they're on their brooms. There's like the golden saucer. No, what is it called? Anyways, you swing around, you fly around, you spell at each other, and you try to get this ball into rings. This is a fully realized one. I'm not even entirely sure how this will play because it's a sport I can't imagine in hand. I know they did make a mode on GameCube, I believe, a very long time ago. So maybe it is realized off that principle. But that game comes out in September on all consoles and PC.
And I do think if gameplay wise, this runs great and is super, super fun to play, I think this game is going to be a smash hit.
Oh, yeah?
I think this is something. Oh, yeah. I think Quidditch is like such a popular thing within the Harry Potter world that people love so much. Again, the recent Harry Potter game did really, really well. I think a fully realized Quidditch game would be a game that even people who maybe don't, religiously follow Harry Potter would be something they'd want to check out. So I think this would be good.
I honestly think the more sports focused take on this rather than just being a bunch of mages and the open world concept of the previous game will probably attract other people. That's why I'm very curious to see it in action, because I understand a sports game and I understand a Harry Potter game, but like the middle ground between both, I just don't understand how that will feel. And I'm very excited. We find out very soon because it is early September 3rd on all consoles and PC. Another game that was disclosed. This one is from the creator of Choo Choo Charles, a smash hit indie game where you are chased by a monster train that came out last year. This is called Cuff Bust. It is a 20-player lobby prison escape game where you're like little bears. I believe you're trying to escape in a time limit, and also I believe it might be ranked on who escapes the fastest, but it looks very neat. It's got destructible environments, it's got proximity chat, which a feature that I've really come to enjoy. I played a little bit of what's that, Fatal Company? What was Lethal?
Lethal Company.
Lethal Company. So the proximity chat stuff on that makes it a ton of fun. It's got a ton of escape routes, and it's got all kinds of tools to play with. It looks really neat. Once again, another one of those games that looks fun. I really need to get my hands on it to fully understand the concept.
Sure. I'm with you there, but this game does, from the preview that we saw, looks so chaotic in like the best way possible. I know there were situations where it's like you took a bar of soap and threw it out, and then someone slipped on the soap, and you're using spoons or objects to kind of cut through the wall. And then I also noticed towards the end, it seems like, even though this is a 20-player lobby, it seems like in some cases there's almost groups of people where one person can go and get into a helicopter to escape, but like leave everyone behind them and things like that. So everyone's like turning on each other too, but trying to work together. And obviously the art style is also adorable, which makes it even funnier. It looks so chaotic, but looks really fun. I definitely want to try this one too.
Yeah, it seems like a very fun party game. And from what they've said, they've only said 2025 on PC. So who knows what part of the year, but we will be seeing that next year. Another game they disclosed, this one we've already heard of, but we finally got a release date for it. Star Wars Outlaws, that's the more story-focused third-person game, which I believe is written by someone that used to write for Uncharted, if I remember correctly.
Beautiful.
August 30th, 2024, it comes out on PC, Xbox, and PS5, so very, very soon, only a couple months away. I like Star Wars. I'm not a Star Wars guy. It is not like a defining feature of my nerd fandom. But I've liked almost every Star Wars video game. Especially, I really enjoyed those last two ones, the third-person action ones. They
Jedi Survivor.
Yeah. Oh my God. The Jedi Survivor was incredible, and so really excited to see what this one's all about. The trailer they showcased looked really cool.
I am too, because if I'm not mistaken, also, Star Wars Outlaws is indeed a full-blown open world game.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So that's the thing, is with a well-written story with the mechanics and the combat of a Jedi Survivor. We're maybe close to it, maybe not exactly the same. But if the combat's good as well, and it's an open world that is like so fun to explore, this has the chance to be like in Game of the Year contender.
Oh yeah,
I really, really think it does.
Yeah, considering the it's a Star Wars game too, it's probably going to sell very well.
Yes.
And it's got all the pieces to make it a success. So we'll see if that is the case.
Yeah.
This one, we're gonna hit a couple games that I know a little less about, but Sid Meier's Civilization 7. I've never played a Civ game before. I'm not, and it's just not the pace of games that I like. But I know I have personal friends who live and die by Civ 6. Civ 7 is releasing on PC and consoles next year in 2025, and also they have disclosed that they will be talking more about it. I believe at Gamescom, so there will be much more information about it very, very soon.
Which is great because Civilization is just such a long-running franchise that is so loved by so many people. I know I actually live streamed Summer Game Fest, and people in my chat were stoked about this. So
yes,
that has me really excited. Maybe this will be the Civilization game that I give a try. I just have such little experience with the genre, but I know it's going to be well done based on the other Civilization games.
For sure. Another game that they've talked about. This one was also announced previously, but now we have a release date. Black Myth Wukong releases August 20th, 2024 on PS5, Steam, and Epic Game Store. That is, I believe, you play a half monkey man. The titular character is half monkey man, and I believe it is a Souls-like game,
yes,
third-person action game. Graphically, it looked incredible from what it showed in this, and a lot of the monster designs that they showed off looked very, very cool.
Yeah, it almost reminded me of Sekiro in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And I'm curious how the parry mechanic will work, but even the monster design and graphically, it really reminded me of that too. So again, if it's a Souls-like, I'm going to give it a try. And this is one that has been on my radar for a while. So I'm glad we got to see more of it.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Souls-likes coming out this year too. So
yes,
you're gonna be very busy for sure.
I know.
We actually teased this one. There was a rumor of this game releasing. Well, now they've officially announced it for PSVR 2. Batman Arkham Shadow. Actually, no, not on PSVR 2. My bad. On MetaQuest 3, exclusive on MetaQuest 3. Roger Craig Smith does the voice acting for Batman again. It will release later this year, and it is from Rocksteady, so the original team that worked on the Batman franchises are back, and they're doing another Batman project. They did not showcase a lot of the actual gameplay.
No gameplay.
Which could be worrying, but I do like Rocksteady, and I do like their Batman games. I did like their previous Batman VR game that they came out, I think, 8 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. So I'm very excited to see if this one is a more realized one, because the first game was really just one short hour snippet of what it would be like to, have a bat built and doing a detective scene. This one seems like a more fully realized, fleshed out game. So willing to give it a shot later this year for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure people getting the chance, especially Batman fans, to experience virtual reality in the Batman world is going to be really exciting. Again, exclusively available on MetaQuest 3. But I'm curious to see some more gameplay of this one.
For sure. And I disclosed earlier that there was a lot more independent reveals. One of them was Tears of Metal. It's a roguelike co-op hack and slash game. The art style on it looks incredible. It looks like one of those fun couch co-op games to play. That will definitely go on my short list of games I'm going to be giving a shot to.
Absolutely.
Other than that, they've also, if we're talking hack and slash games, this one I've never talked about my fandom about the Mighty Morphing Power Rangers, but
oh my god, me too.
Oh, it's the first few seasons. The first movie I've seen hundreds of times.
Ivan Ooze, baby.
Yeah, yes, smells like teenagers. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind is a 4-player co-op retro beat 'em up with couch co-op. It's got a lot of cool stuff though. It looked like it has like insane boss battles. It had first-person mode where like kind of like in at the end of Battletoads when you're throwing things at the screen. It had its own version of that. It had its own version of like the motorcycle sections. I'm liking the renewal of like old properties into these beat 'em ups. We just saw it with Streets of Rage. We saw it with this. TMNT just came out with an incredible one. Very excited to play this one.
I agree. I think, seriously, as far as Summer Game Fest went, this was in my top 3.
Me too.
As far as most anticipated games. And because, again, we've seen Power Ranger beat 'em ups before, and a lot of them are really, really great. But this one grabbed me in so many different ways. Just because, again, aside from the side-scrolling beat 'em up, like you said, you're flying through the air at one point and like shooting. You're also first person fighting in the giant mech. Power Rangers, this beat 'em up looks super fun, and I love that it's the original Power Rangers.
Yes,
because those are the ones that I know and love.
Yeah, I didn't realize this, but they're still actively making Power Rangers series nowadays, and so I think after they went from Power Rangers and then they went to Ninjas, after that I washed my hands of it. I was like, can't do it anymore. It became like motorcycles and so on and so forth. But original Power Rangers is one of my biggest fandom in life, and very excited to play more of it for sure. This one I know you'll be excited for. It comes from the dev Bokeh Game Studios and Kiichiro Toyama, who's the creator of Forbidden Siren, or also the creator of Silent Hill. He's making Slitherhead, which we saw a trailer for. It's a horror action game focused around parasites invading other people. Also, I'm not entirely certain if you're not a parasite yourself, because it seemed like the beginning of the trailer you were just following one parasite jumping from a body to another. But it looks like it's a third-person Souls-like action game with like really grotesque monsters. Very excited to see, his take on a third-person action game, and also just more visions of him since he's made Silent Hill. I'm willing to bet you this will be a very, very creepy game for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And it looks so unique. Again, the way that you can transfer from person to person, and then I'm assuming you get different abilities based on who you turn to or who you attack, I guess, as the parasite. Because you're right, I'm not sure if you're actually the parasite, but it does seem that way. This looked so original, so different, and again, based on the games that have been directed before by him, this is going to be pretty cool. This is going to be pretty cool.
I think so too. It's on my short list of games I'm going to try for sure. I mean, I say it's short list, but at this point, the list is incredibly long.
Long list.
Another very there was a handful of weird games. This one was a very weird one. Killer Bean, where you play as a bean who is an assassin who works for a shadow agency, and it's a third-person roguelike shooter. It looked like a comedic third-person roguelike shooter, but also simultaneously the gameplay looked super fun for something that it looks so fun for something that is obviously, if you just look at it at face value, seems like a purely comedy game. That comes out this summer. So they did not say a date, but Killer Bean will be coming out very, very shortly. I can't tell you much about the game other than it has a bean and it looks fun, but I think that might be enough. That might be enough for me.
Uno, remember when I said I had a top 3 of Summer Game Fest?
Oh, did this make it?
Killer Bean is in my top 3.
Really?
I mean, it looks not only hilarious, not only so chaotic, but it looks so much fun. It looks like it's going to be so much fun. Just from that short trailer that we saw, it looks like you're going to be able to traverse and go through all these different areas, use so many different weapons. It looks ridiculous in the most fun video game way possible. I will absolutely be playing Killer Bean. If you've not seen the trailer yet, definitely watch it, everybody.
Yeah, go check it out.
It's hilarious.
Also, Summer Game Fest has been known for a lot of shadow drops. There only, I believe, was one somewhat shadow drop. This one was actually teased for weeks on end. Remedy Games changed their whole social media presence to try and like indicate that they were going to be doing something. They had already announced this Sam Lake was going to be present, but Sam Lake, the director or founder, I believe, of Remedy Games, showed up on stage and announced an Alan Wake 2 Night Springs DLC, 3 different episodes featuring different characters from the series, not necessarily the main character or Alan himself, some of the other characters, but in episodic formats and being in their weird, quirky worlds. And all 3 of those are released already by the time we air this show. It is Sunday that we are recording this, right after the Xbox showcase. It came out on Friday. Just full disclosure, the second I am done doing this, I'm going to download this because that's how excited I am about it. Alan Wake 2 was my game of the year last year.
There we go.
And I love their comedic approach to things. Like they're very... It's like they do creepy stuff, they do weird stuff, but it has like this hint of comedy to it. And so all of the stuff, what if scenarios that they showcased in all 3 episodes looked very, very funny and weird. So I'm very excited. I'm going to be jumping into this right away.
Absolutely. Again, Alan Wake 2, one of the greatest psychological horror games of all time, in my opinion. But again, what's so cool about this DLC, aside from the fact that it's definitely a little more lighthearted than the base game. But again, 2 of the characters that are part of these DLC episodes. One is the lead character in Quantum Break, which is a Remedy game.
Yep.
The other one is the lead character from Control, another Remedy game, which was like so not expected for me. So I was like, oh, this is awesome to kind of see these worlds intertwine. The DLC is going to be great. I mean, I already know it's going to be excellent. So same thing, Uno. I will definitely be playing the DLC very, very soon.
Yeah, I think this is going to be like an interstitial between Alan Wake 2 and whatever next Control game it is, because I think they've slowly been blending the universes of all their video games, and I think ultimately in the next Control game, it will just be assumed that Max Payne, Alan Wake, Quantum Break, and so on and so forth are all in one universe. So I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if you played Alan Wake 2, no spoilers, but there has been tidbits of other stuff, as is customary in Remedy games in general. But this seems like an indication of that's where they're heading into as one shared like meta universe. After this, we had the people from Among Us came out, and they actually announced multiple things. First, they announced that they are now going to be funding other independent games. Outer Sloth, they announced their new publishing wing where they showcase 5 different indie games. All of them look very colorful, very fun. So kudos to them. I think that's very neat. You know, they made a ton of money over the pandemic, and instead of keeping that all to themselves, they are trying to help out other independents to release their video games. So I think that's very, very cool.
Very quickly, absolutely. Like for them to do that, beyond kudos to them. Because again, as amazing as gaming has been these past few years, the unfortunate thing being that so many developers have been laid off. And just know how appreciated you are. And just know that I hope very, very soon you get the chance to do what it is you love to do, because there are not these great video games if it's not for the developers and everyone who works in the gaming industry. So for the Among Us team to do this, go out of their way, bravo.
And then they also announced an Among Us animated TV series, which I'm not sure. So they didn't actually use any of the voices. They only used silence in the quips that they showed. But it does have a star-studded cast, including Elijah Wood, Patton Oswalt, Deborah Wilson, Phil Lamar from Mad TV. So it has like some pretty high-end voice actors. I don't know. I don't think they disclose when or where it'll be released, like if it was Netflix or Amazon or so on. But that's another video game property is being made into a TV show, much like Cuphead got their animated TV show. Now Among Us is getting one as well. So hey, kudos to you, video games. We're really making big strides now.
I was gonna say it's another video game adaptation, which is fantastic. Can I say this though too? In a weird way, I remember hearing this rumor that the Among Us show was gonna be like live action and not animated.
Wow!
And I'm so glad that it's animated.
Yeah, I don't think I would have wanted to watch a live action Among Us.
No way.
Other stuff, and I'm trying to skip through some, or not skip, but I'll try to pop through some of this stuff. Palworld got an update. I haven't replayed Palworld since it came out the first week, but they're releasing a new islands, some new pals, some new buildings, a new level cap system, some new sub-series. They're going to have servers dedicated to Xbox because they didn't have servers dedicated to specific consoles. There's a new raid, all kinds of new stuff, including boss battles. That is coming to Pal World. Capcom announced a hack and slash tower defense game called Kuditsu Gami. Once again, tower defense not my biggest genre of video games, so does not play to my sensibilities, but maybe it does for you. And then the last two pieces that they played at the Summer Game Fest, one was for Skate, which we had already known they've been working on. Actually, their trailer was essentially making fun of themselves, saying like, we are still working on this, we swear to you, we are still working on this. But it finally has a release. It will release this year in 2024. There's a big beta test that will also be coming out in the coming months, and gameplay looks like previous Skate games, but it also simultaneously looks like there's a big creation suite, and the lobbies, if the trailer is indicative of that or not, seem to be very large. So it seems like you could skate with a lot of people in one park at the same time.
Oh yeah.
They also featured Tim Robinson, who a very famous comedian from I Think You Should Laugh. Is that what that's called? Oh man, John Silver's going to kill me for not knowing this one. But anyways, yeah, they featured a trailer with him, and also then I went and researched. I was like, I wonder why they used Tim Robinson for this. He's an actual skateboarder himself, and rumors are he will be playable in the video game as well.
Oh well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Aside from the massive size, it seems, of Skate, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
A cool little extra tidbit. And then the final game that they displayed was Phantom Blade Zero. An action RPG game. Last year, I believe they announced it. This year, they showed a pretty large chunk of gameplay. Looks very exciting. It looks stunning. Video game, like graphically, it looks incredible. We're coming to a point where it is hard for me to be impressed by video game graphics because, like, I don't know if we've reached the status where, like, everything is good, but this one looked like almost a step above. It looks very, very cool.
Oh yeah, and it also had like its color scheme. It was like very gritty as well, which I really, really liked. But again, this action RPG seems Souls-like, and from the bit that we saw, the combat looked excellent. So to me, for this being the main event of Summer Game Fest, I think it deserved to be there. This for me for sure will be a day one game that I play when it drops. So Phantom Blade Zero looks awesome.
And that was it for Summer Game Fest. I have a few from Day of the Devs and so on that I would like to mention. We amalgamated a list. If there's one you really want to talk about, let me know. But some of the ones I'm very interested in is UFO 50. It's back in the day when I was a kid and I had NES games, they would have like Play 52, it would be 52 games in one cartridge. This is what that is. It is by the creator of Spelunky and Downwell. They are teaming together to create UFO 50, which will be 50 different games, fully realized multiplayer and single players in one single package with 8-bit aesthetics. Spelunky, if you've never played, is one of the greatest independent video games of all time. Spelunky 2 is just like that on steroids. Very excited to see what Mossmouth has been working on for a very, very long time, because I remember this being rumored as far back as like 7 years ago.
Yes, it just very, very quickly, I loved that so many of the games were so different. And then the devs also mentioned that a lot of the stories actually may intertwine with each other. Mm-hmm. So that is very exciting too. But this, again, looks like an incredible, incredible game.
Oh, I bet you somehow there will be an overarching story that goes through it. They just don't want to disclose it. I'm very excited. Right. I think it'll be a very, very cool. And they said that it goes from platformers, shoot 'em ups, RPGs, puzzles, roguelikes. There's really a wide variety of stuff. It's all in one package. They showed a ton of stuff at Day of the Devs, but the other one that I think is very, very interesting is called Screenbound, and it is a first-person game, but the first-person aspect of it is that you're playing a Game Boy in first person, and the world around the Game Boy is part of the platforming, And so sometimes, but also the game in the screen itself is part of the platforming. So as you explore your Game Boy game, if you were to hit a wall, you might have to then look into the first person mode to realize how to continue your path. It looks it definitely kind of screwed with my brain as I was watching it. I had such a hard time deciphering the puzzles in real time, but it's truly feels very unique.
Oh my God, yeah, I've never seen anything like it before. Same thing. It seems like a very interesting puzzle game where, like you had said, Uno, from watching the gameplay trailer, you absolutely have to pay attention to both screens.
At all times.
At first I was like, oh, I'll just focus on the Game Boy screen, or oh, I'll just focus on the first person screen. And no, that's not the case. In order to solve these puzzles and platform your way out of the level, you got to pay attention to both. So that's going to be a mental game for sure, but it sounds awesome. Look, very unique.
It seems like one of those games you have to be like in a flow state to really get through, for sure.
Yeah.
And then also Devolver Digital made a showcase. Devolver Digital always makes these cinematic pieces. They make about the weirdest gaming announcements every single year. In fact, of their 20-minute presentation, I think maybe 3 minutes were video games and the rest of it was just their weird cinema that they like to use. But I personally love it. They announce a lot of very cool stuff. Heart Machine is working on Possessors, which is a fast-paced action side-scroller with combat inspired by platform fighters. And that is the people who made Hyper Light Drifter. Very excited to see their next project. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, Possessors to me was the highlight.
Really?
It's game-wise. I mean, a bunch of them looked good, but Possessors looks awesome. Like, it looks right up my alley.
It looks very cool. Another big game that they announced first time disclosing it was the designer of Dead Cells, one of the probably greatest Castlevania games of all time. Sebastian Benar is working on Tenjutsu, which is a side-scrolling action game that kind of inspires by Dead Cells, a lot of their systems, but also simultaneously inspired by Sifu, the weird like hand-to-hand combat parry game. So very excited to see how both of those worlds will meld. And the art style was very, very nice. Very excited to see what Tenjutsu ends up looking like. Other stuff they talked about, they gave us a Angerfoot, which I got to play last time I was at PAX. It's a first-person game where you use your foot more than anything else. A lot of kicking. Cult of Lamb has a new DLC, and the Talos Principle 2, honestly one of the most mind-bending puzzle games I've ever played, has a big DLC coming out in June, as well as Cult of Lamb has their DLC, which has local co-op finally on August 12th. And that is pretty much all of the stuff Devolver Digital showcased.
Yeah. Again, Summer Game Fest, Day of the Devs, Devolver Digital, all really, really great showcases. Really, really good.
We're going to be talking about the Xbox showcase that we actually watched today. If you were wondering, like, oh wow, they really seemed in their element today. They seem very excited. That's because we're still fueled up by the video games that we watched today, and I know both of us are very excited to go through this list. So I will not wait any longer. We'll get right into the showcase. It started all off with the big Call of Duty Black Ops 6 reveal, including. Yes, it will come out day one on Game Pass. That's the thing that you're going to see reoccurringly throughout this Xbox games showcase. They really, really hammered this home. I think Game Pass is their bread and butter from now on.
Absolutely.
It is insane. You know, there was a time that I was publicly saying that Xbox doesn't seem to have a lot coming out. I think I'm wrong. This year, they really came out strong. They have a lot of first-party stuff. They have a lot of stuff unique to Xbox, and they have a lot of stuff that will be day one on Game Pass. And it starts with Call of Duty Black Ops 6. This one takes places in the early 90s, the Cold War. It has enhanced movement, which I will let you talk about because it looks really cool.
Yes. So again, following the Xbox showcase, we got a deep dive into Black Ops 6 with a Black Ops 6 Direct. And one of the things they really discussed was the movement within this first-person shooter, which I think is going to revolutionize FPS games. Normally in FPS games, you can sprint forward, and that's it. Now you can sprint forward, to the side, backwards, which it's kind of wild to think that hasn't been in an FPS game for this long. But as far as I'm concerned, it hasn't, or not to my knowledge, on such a mainstream FPS game. So that looks amazing. Also, when you dive forward and you're on your stomach, you can 360 degrees move around and point your gun anywhere. Like if you want to roll to your back and point your gun, if you want to point it up, you can do that. The movement and mobility within this game looks so next level. And in addition to that as well, again, they didn't talk too much about multiplayer. I know that there's going to be 12 brand new original maps, I believe, which is very exciting. But the campaign looks like it's really going to hit. Like I said, a good Call of Duty campaign is one of the best FPS campaigns you could experience. And this one looks really, really cool. Secondly, my favorite mode in Call of Duty has been zombies.
Yep.
And in zombies, they are bringing back the round system, which is so awesome. Like the traditional zombies round system, which is really, really cool and I really like. So as far as I'm concerned, Call of Duty really put all its cards on the table, and what they did put down, people are really excited about, and rightfully so. This looks like a great Black Ops game.
Yeah, they didn't shy away from showcasing it. They gave us a big trailer about the campaign right off the start, and then on top of that, they did a long, like 30+ minute piece afterwards. I think they genuinely think this is going to be one of the good ones, one of the good Call of Duty games. And this one seems like the most fleshed out. It's got zombies. It's got a campaign mode, which has not been a thing that's been happening in all of the games in the last few years. It has all of this added movement stuff. They said they also improved and advanced the hit detection system. So
yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
So there'll be injuries, there'll be damage indicated on what part of your body you get hit. And also they didn't show a lot of the multiplayer, but they did disclose as well that they'll have 10 level of prestiges, so that makes it 1,000 levels of expansions as you play. So like the very top player could be up to 1,000 as far as their level is. So
and Uno, that is available day one.
Day one on Game Pass.
That's available day one. Not only day one on Game Pass, but all those prestige levels are available day one. So you can start your grind like right away, which is so cool. But,
the crazy thing will be every time I pop into there, realizing that some people have somehow gone 500 levels in a week. Like I know Call of Duty is one of those games that a lot of people like, and it is never more apparent than when you jump into a multiplayer mode a week after the game comes out and you just get destroyed. It's a humbling experience, but I have to have the experience every single year. I will be playing this one for sure. We talked about this one because it was rumored, but we're finally seeing it in action. There's a new Doom game. Doom: The Dark Ages is coming out. I believe they said it would come out next year, 2025. It also will be day one on Game Pass because it comes from Bethesda, and Bethesda is now owned by Microsoft. This one it seems to be in a pastime. This is like the Darker Ages. That is why it's called The Dark Ages. It's more of a medieval setting. They had some really cool stuff. There's a shield in this one, but instead of a chainsaw, you have a chainsaw shield, where the blades spin around on the shield. You can throw it around like your Captain America, and it comes back to you. It looks very, very cool.
It looks awesome. Again, starting with Doom 2016 and then Doom Eternal, this resurgence of Doom has been excellent. Like I can't picture a better way to bring Doom back than what we've seen recently. And with Doom: The Dark Ages, I never in a million years expected like this almost prehistoric, medieval setting for Doom, and imagining all the different weapons and all the wild violence and gore there's going to be with all these new weapons, and with Doom Guy just tearing through everybody. Again, it's a Doom game, so this will absolutely be a day one play for me. Day one on Game Pass as well. So yeah, I'm super excited, and the music sounds great as usual. Just in the trailer, it sounded awesome. So it's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be a wild ride.
I still don't know if the same person is working on the soundtrack. We did disclose the issues they had previously, but the music they used for this soundtrack, it sounded pretty damn good. So if it is not him, at least whoever has covered for him is doing some great metal music as well.
Doing a good job.
A couple games that have come out that a lot of people love, but I, with full disclosure, do not play, and so therefore don't know much about. State of Decay 3 will be coming out day one Game Pass. There was a more story-focused trailer. This was already announced previously. I have played a little bit of State of Decay 2. I like it. I just have not dabbled an immense amount. But this is one of those games that a lot of people play, a lot of people enjoy. Some of my friends claim it's the best zombie game of all time, which I know you and I have different opinions about that too. But this one is like one where you can really live through what would be an apocalypse as you hold one ensemble of characters throughout different habitats and different scenarios and so on. So that looks very, very neat.
It does. And same Uno. I have very little experience with State of Decay, but the thing that is exciting is, again, this is like a borderline survival zombie game as well, with like a giant map. So again, from what we saw in the trailer, it definitely looked like a fun game to give a shot. That's for sure. And again, that's another day one Game Pass game.
If you have Game Pass, you're eating well this year for sure.
Yes.
Another one. This one also something I don't have a lot of experience with. Dragon Age, the Veilguard, Veilguard, the Veilguard comes out October 24th. That is the continuation to the Dragon Age series. I've not played a single one of them, but once again, this is another series that a lot of people really enjoy. It's a third-person RPG, and this one looks pretty quirky. They showcased a lot of different characters in it. Like there was necromancers, there was different classes and stuff. So I'm wondering if the approach for this one is like you're not following one character. Are you following multiple, or do you actually get to pick and choose who you are? But it looked very cool from the trailer they showcased, and that'll be coming out October. You mentioned it earlier. You replayed Starfield because of the Fallout TV series. Well, good news for you. There's multiple pieces of content coming out, including one has already been released today, which will be yesterday if you're listening to the podcast on Monday. Starfield is dropping new content for free right now, but they've also disclosed that they will be having an expansion later in 2024 that includes new planets, new locations, new gear, new custom content from Bethesda, and this seems a lot more horror focused.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Same exact thing, Uno. It seems like it's a totally different tone. Which again, I have not completed Starfield. I've definitely not done every side mission, but this definitely does seem more horror, kind of off the wall focused, not in a bad way. It definitely seems out there, which I love because Starfield is about space. So why wouldn't you have some off the wall scenarios or situations? It adds more depth to the game and makes it different. And I certainly, as I'm playing through Starfield now, will be playing this DLC. It looks really fun.
So the Shattered Space expansion will come out later on in 2024. And of course, because it is part of Starfield, that is also available on Game Pass. That's not all for Fallout. They also disclosed Fallout 76 is getting a big piece of content called Skyline Valley. They're getting a new map expansion, which I believe is the first map expansion they've had in Appalachia. You get to play as a ghoul now. That's one of the new modes that you have as well, and it is all coming out in June, so very, very soon. Fallout 76 is one I've dabbled in. But I haven't replayed since the first month it came out, and people have told me how much better it is now a couple years since it's been out. I might actually jump into it, seeing as the DLC is coming out this month.
Uno, I might as well, because same thing. I actually recently watched a documentary about how the community of Fallout 76 has turned this into like this amazing, incredible game. And of course, Bethesda has been hard at work, constantly adding new things like NPCs, obviously with this DLC dropping as well. But it seems like as the game is expanding and growing, it's becoming more and more and more interesting. And with this DLC on the horizon, I'm sure the community of people playing Fallout 76 are going to have a field day with this one.
So now that we've talked about a lot of like sequels, one of the things I like the most about the Xbox showcase is they showed a lot of new IPs. This next one I think might be, if I'm going to say one of the top 3 games I'm excited for from this Game Fest, I think this is one of them. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 is an RPG coming out in 2025 that will be available day one on Game Pass, of course. But this one, Story wise, first of all, graphically it looks incredible, but story wise, really like it looks like it's a lot of large boss battles, and there is like a god figure called the Paintress, who paints a number once a year, and everyone who is that age dies that year. So they paint the number 33. And so everyone who is 33 dies, and you actually see in this trailer these people evaporate, kind of like when Thanos clicked his fingers. And so the Expedition 33 is about this group of people that are going to try and kill the gods so that people will no longer die in the future. It looks really interesting, very unique, and as far as like a new IP, this is the one that I was like, man, I keep thinking about, like, this looks really cool.
Uno, I agree. This one grabbed my attention immediately, and I agree with everything that you said. This is definitely a game I'm going to want to check out. But another side note, I'm not 100% sure, but I am convinced that the lead character in this game is voiced by Ben Starr, who is the gentleman who voiced Clive Rossfield in Final Fantasy 16. He's an amazing, amazing voice actor. So I can only imagine how good the dialogue is going to be with Ben Starr at the head. So yeah, definitely want to check this game out.
Yeah, it looks like it has a very interesting story, and I'm sure they'll also disclose more of the gameplay later on. Oh, if I remember correctly, actually, is this the one that had turn-based RPG combat? Because there was one that I was like, whoa, did not expect. Yes, this is it. This has turn-based combat, which is like a return to like an old mode, but like, it looked really interesting. Like we've had Personas, we've had the Like a Dragon that have done it recently, but this looked like a third-person action game, but then it simultaneously turns into turn-based combat. It looks very unique, very different. I'm very excited to jump into it.
It does, and I also think too with that turn-based, there was like button presses with timing based on the moves that you did as well. So it adds some extra depth there as well. But yeah, I love the idea of it. Like you said, you fully expecting a third-person action game, but instead we got a time-based, turn-based RPG.
Yeah. So very, very cool. Claire Obscur will be coming out next year. Another new IP that they showed off was South of Midnight. They showed a very lengthy gameplay / cinematic trailer too. This one has like very cool stop motion graphics. It has a very unique art style, and the music was very like, I don't know how to explain it. It was like very twangy, and it feels like New Orleans. It felt like New Orleans music. I think that's what the influence from it was. It seems very voodoo focused as well. That is also coming out 2025 day one Game Pass. That one also looks very much up my alley, and will be on that short list of games I'll be playing for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Again, just adding a side note, I loved the stop motion cinematics they used.
Yes.
It was just, it immediately grabbed your eye. I believe the actual gameplay isn't stop motion, but the cinematics seem very stop motion. So it did seem very interesting. Another very cool new IP.
It had that same effect those new Spider-Man animated series movies came out with, where they removed some of the frames from it, so it looks like not clunky, but like it definitely looks like a comic book in motion. It looks very neat. This one, okay, I'm excited about this because we talk about this series all the time, and we knew this was coming around. But Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is getting a remake. Yes. That's right, Konami's back in the game, and they're releasing what looks like a pretty incredible upgrade on graphics and stuff, and engine-wise, just on the motions that they were showing, a lot of the takedowns and stuff, looks like a pretty large expansion on the combat. I think Metal Gear Solid is one of the best series. I know I've mentioned how I don't think Kojima is as incredible as people think, but I will say that does not include Metal Gear Solid 1 to 3. Practically perfect games, and the third game is an incredible game on its own. Great story, incredible music, some very, very hard like spy sections, like stealth sections. This looks very cool. This looks like, I'm glad we're getting a remake.
Me too, because for many people, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is like their favorite Metal Gear of all time, and rightfully so. And again, Kojima and the whole development of the Metal Gear series introduced so many new mechanics to gaming, like stuff that has been so off the wall that no one ever tried before. I always think back to Metal Gear Solid 1 with Psycho Mantis, where you had to switch the controller port, and how wild that was. But another thing I was very excited about, again, because I don't think this was confirmed, it seems like David Hayter is voicing Snake.
Yeah, I believe so.
Is fantastic news.
Yeah, because there was a short period of time where it did not seem like he was going to be involved with any future projects, but that trailer definitely has his voice in it. I mean, there's no mistaking his voice. So yeah, very exciting. If you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, I know you're excited as well. That's not the only remake we're getting. We're getting quite a few amount of remakes. They showcased from Crystal Dynamics, also day one Game Pass game. Perfect Dark is getting a remake. I actually didn't even realize it was Perfect Dark the first 2 minutes that they showcased until the last maybe 20 seconds where they showed more like the alien features from Perfect Dark. But this looks like a pretty stunning first-person shooter. It also, I don't remember this in the original Perfect Dark, maybe on the Xbox version later on, but it has Mirror's Edge style running and freestyle running. Like it has like run off walls, climbing off pipes, doing like action rolls off like leaps off a building. Looks very good. It looks mobility wise looks very different than what the previous game was.
Yeah, for sure. I get it, because I love the original Perfect Dark games, and I know we had heard this was coming, but got such little information on it. So to actually see what this game looks like and see like the different equipment that you can use and the mechanics, and again, graphically, gorgeous game. So now to actually see this new Perfect Dark in action has me absolutely stoked. This looks sweet. And
another one coming from the history of Xbox previous games, Fable is finally coming out. It will be coming out in 2025. They showcase some gameplay as well as some cinematics about your titular character. It seemed to have the same vibe as Fable 1 and 2, which I enjoy a lot more. It seems to have kind of like a slight amount of humor, but it is very more focused on your choices. They didn't showcase what those choices would be, so there was no spoilers, but the cinematics did reiterate how important what you chose would be, and it making you a good or a bad person or a different scenario and so on. So Playground Games is making this. It will be coming out on 2025. And of course, they didn't disclose this, but I would be very surprised if it is not day one on Game Pass, considering this is a PlayStation, or not PlayStation, excuse me, a Microsoft IP. So very, very excited to see Fable come back around.
For sure. And to actually get to see more of the in-game combat and things like that, I think was really exciting. That really overall with this show today, it really felt like a bunch of the games that have been announced in the past with either just a title card or something very simple. We got to see a lot of these games like finally in action.
Yes.
And getting to see Fable in action was awesome and not disappointing whatsoever. Like you said, you get that hint of humor. We know that it's going to be very choice-based. We know that. But the game also looks beautiful and looks super fun to play.
Yeah, it does, and in a lot of ways looks a lot like the first two games rather than the latest iteration. Which, if you're a fan of the series, I think is what you wanted. And so, yeah, very excited for that. We will be playing that next year.
Oh yeah.
They also disclosed a DLC for Diablo 4. Vessel of Hatred is coming out in October. It will have a new character class and a new region. I played a ton of Diablo 4 when it originally came out, and then haven't played it in a while. I heard they restructured the game again to change. They do this all the time. They always improve. Blizzard always improves on like the core systems of things 4 or 5 months into it to appease the user base. And so this looks really neat. It looks, the cinematics are grotesque like crazy from this Diablo series. There's a, especially in this cinematic, there's a shot of an arm splitting in like three. That is just disgusting. But very excited to see that Diablo 4 will get further support, including new classes, new regions, and probably a time that I'll jump back into, at least see what's going on with Diablo 4, since it's been quite some time since I've played it.
Yeah, I've had a blast with Diablo 4 as well, but the only thing I really wanted to comment on, again, no one does cinematics like
Nope.
the Diablo team.
No way.
No one. Like it's both the most wild combination of absolutely beautiful but borderline photorealistic images, and like you said, the most grotesque images as well, which makes it so much more uncomfortable. If the idea was to leave like a memorable image in your brain, Diablo 4 with this expansion nailed it. Because I'm not going to have that image of that arm getting ripped out of my head for a long time. It was nasty.
Yeah, they had some crazy jarring imagery in it, and but that's what they're known for. And all I remember Diablo 2 being so excited anytime you'd get a cinematic piece, and that's always stuck around with all the Diablos. So yeah, if you're a Diablo 4 fan, you're going to get some new content starting in October. A new game that they also disclosed, this seems like a new IP that I am very excited for, is called Fragpunk. This is a 5v5 hero shooter. That on its own would not be super interesting to me. I'm not a huge hero shooter guy. But what made this different than other things, it had a almost cel-shaded look to it, and it had card effects where you could use a secondary item that were just a deck of cards, and the deck of cards would influence the rules of the match. So for example, they showcase world flip, where you would literally turn the map upside down, so now you're playing on the roofs instead of the floors. Or big head mode, so making headshots more easy to acquire, or chain lightning, which if you shot at a person, it would shoot multiple people. So it looks like it has a very unique element to it, where as you're actively playing it, you can then influence the rules to try and help your specific class to get more kills and such. And I'm not a big 5v5 guy. I'm not a big hero shooter guy, but this trailer alone made me really want to try it. And no date yet, but a very interesting concept.
Yeah, because I'm incredibly intrigued by this card system, and just imagining how many different ways you can influence the game has me really excited. Because there was another thing that was shown where you used a card and all of a sudden tall grass appeared.
Yes.
Where you could like sneak past your opponent or sneak behind him. So if there's a bunch of different options like that, I mean, that's really exciting just to see what all you can do. So yeah, this does seem very intriguing.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique take on the hero shooter, and they didn't say a date, but I will definitely be trying this out.
Yeah.
Another one that we've already heard of, we've seen trailers of, but this one had a very big cinematic piece as well as more first-person gameplay, is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That's right, it's the first-person Bethesda Indiana Jones game. I wouldn't say I'm very excited for this, but a lot of the cinematic pieces, I'm like, oh, okay. The cinematic pieces, they're well acted. Troy Baker is Indiana Jones in this one. He does an incredible job, and like they feel like you're watching the movie, but visually, I'm like, oh, I'm not like, I don't know, I'm not stunned by the graphics. But then they showcase the first person shots of it, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a very stunning looking game. It's just the character models are a little odd when they're not Indiana Jones, but this looks really cool. I mean, first person whips, first person platforming, a lot of puzzles. I'm a big Indiana Jones fan, so just to be in that world and live one of his adventures in first person, I think is going to be very, very cool.
Yeah, you could tell they're putting a lot into the story of this game, and of course it's an Indiana Jones game, but my God, I can't wait to use that whip, Uno.
Oh yeah, me too.
I can't wait to use that whip. That looks so fun.
Oh, and they finally confirmed it is day one on Game Pass as well. So
yes,
if you're on Game Pass, you will be able to play Indiana Jones the second it comes out. We talked about some Souls-like earlier. Well, there was one showcase today releasing in 2025. Wu Chang Fallen Feathers is a Souls-like game. This one has a female protagonist. It will also be day one on Game Pass. Not a whole lot showcased. They showcased some of the beings that you'll be fighting. The first monster they showcased was pretty disgusting. It was like a four-armed lady that was like crawling over a bunch of corpses.
Very cool, very creepy.
But yes, looks like your Souls-like adjacent video game. A lot of creepy bosses. Very excited to see how the systems work out on this one, and where it will place in the list of Souls-like games that come out this year. Another one that's coming out, Avowed from Obsidian. Those are the people behind Outer Worlds, or maybe you know them from Fallout New Vegas. One of, if not the best new Fallout game in my mind. Day one Game Pass release of this first-person action RPG. Lots of spells, a very colorful game. They didn't showcase a lot of gameplay on this one, but I respect the pedigree of Obsidian Entertainment, and I think they make incredible games. So I'm willing to bet this will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. Same thing. This definitely looks very intriguing, and especially with Obsidian being behind it, with games like Outer Worlds and Fallout New Vegas. You could pretty much guarantee this is going to be a good time. So this does look really fun. And again, day one on Game Pass. No reason not to try it either. But Obsidian's awesome, so I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, big time. Another new single-player game that they were showcasing. This one's a new IP as well. It's called Atomfall. It's a single-player survival action game that will also be coming out day one on Game Pass. This one, it kind of feels like Atomic Heart. We were talking about this off screen, but it has like a retro look to it with a lot of like retro looking robots. This one I think is more British. At least they had a lot of like British iconography, like the cabs and the telephone booths and stuff. It looks neat. It looks like one of those games. I would love to get my hands on it to really understand what this does different from other ones, but it definitely did look cool on the 1 minute preview they disclosed.
Absolutely.
And then we have three big games towards the end because,
Xbox big ones.
Xbox came out swinging for sure. Assassin's Creed Shadows. It came out recently that Assassin's Creed's next game would be in Japan, I believe. The Assassin's Creed Shadow is the first look at gameplay. They showcased a trailer, and the game is coming out November 15th of this year, so it's coming out soon. I thought we were actually skipping this year. I thought the game would come out next year. We actually had a little meeting this week, and I was like, oh, both of us thought the game would be coming out next year. Nope, not the case. It will be coming out just before the holiday. And for as exciting as this trailer was, they also disclosed that there'll be a 13-minute gameplay reveal at Ubisoft Forward, which will be happening when you hear this podcast today, which means we will be talking about Ubisoft Forward next week on the next episode of All of the Arcade. Hopefully they will be dropping some games because you know how excited we get about some games. This one looks cool. I mean, I haven't played the previous Assassin's Creed game, and I heard it was very, very good. I dabbled in Valhalla. This one might suck me back in, though. It seems like a better a world that I'm more interested in exploring for sure.
I really like the approach that Ubisoft has taken with Assassin's Creed lately. Again, Valhalla, I really, really enjoyed. I never finished it, but I put quite a bit of time into that game. Love the combat, love the world, loved the setting. And Assassin's Creed Shadows looks right up my alley. Again, I loved a game like Ghost of Tsushima. I loved the environments and the way you traversed and things like that. And it looks like the traversal in Assassin's Creed Shadows is very interesting. The combat looks really, really cool. And again, like we talked about, the setting looks awesome. So based on this small trailer that we saw, I am absolutely going to check out the Ubisoft Forward and watch that 13-minute gameplay trailer because this game seems like a day one for me.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have more opinions about this game as well as the trailer that will be on Ubisoft Forward and all of the Ubisoft Forward presser on next week's All Elite Arcade. Final two games. This one I actually watched a little late because I didn't get to watch it live, but I watched it just before we did this. Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl comes out September 5th, 2024. It will be out on day one Game Pass. I've actually never played the Stalker game originally. I've always heard about it.
Same.
Always heard about it, but I don't know what it is about this game. It is stunning. Like the first person aspects of it, it looks, at first we both thought the same thing. This looked like a Metro game. Metro is a series that is like very forward focused when it comes to graphics. It always looks stunning, great environments. This one I thought I was looking at a Metro game until they unveiled that it was Stalker 2. It is stunning. Visually, it looks incredible. The particle effects that come from like shooting at, like they were shooting some boars at one point, and I don't know how to explain it because obviously we don't have imagery that could just pop in your eyes while you're listening to this audio. But it looked it looked really cool. It looked very, very nice. I mean, I'm vying for more first-person shooters. Now that I've seen Dune, now that I've seen this, I'm like, man, I haven't played a good first-person shooter in quite some time. So I'll definitely be playing Heart of a Chernobyl Starkler 2 on September 5th.
Oh, me too. And I don't mean to repeat what you just said, but like you said, it was so, again, there's a lot of stunning games that we saw during this Xbox showcase, but this one really, really stuck out. It was all the detail, the lighting, like you said, the particle effects. It was so impressive. Also, again, because I have not played a Stalker game, I'm very curious about the story. It seems very intriguing and very interesting. So, again, I think this is going to be my first Stalker game that I've ever played.
I think so too.
Stalker 2. Yeah,
I think so too. I know, and you know, if you think we should go back and play the first game, if it's important, let us know in our comments down below on youtube.com/awgames. We do read those comments. We appreciate you if you do. And also, you know, if there's a game that was revealed in the last few weeks, including, you know, we didn't talk about the Wholesome Direct, but if there's a few games that you think we really should keep our eyes on that we didn't talk about today, do let us know in the comments down below. I would love to go check some further trailers.
The PC gaming show. You're right. Yeah,
there's been so much has been disclosed. And then it all ended on this one. You know, they did not showcase a lot of this game, but I think what they showcased was enough to get people excited. Gears of War is back. Gears of War is coming out day one on Game Pass. This one is Gears of War E-Day. And I think you know the lore more than I do, so I will let you take over on this point. But it looks very, very cool.
Sure. So first and foremost, to say I'm excited for a new Gears of War game would be an understatement. One of the reasons I fell in love with Xbox was Gears of War. I have played through every single Gears campaign. I love that franchise. Specifically, I really love the story. Like, the story that developed throughout those games is just fantastic. I, to this day, think Gears 5 is one of the most beautiful video games that I've ever played.
Yes.
Gorgeous game. But when they showed this trailer, I was over the moon. I was beyond excited. But there's an interesting tidbit. Again, they showed no gameplay whatsoever. It was just a cinematic trailer to announce that Gears of War E-Day is coming. It deserved to be in that main event slot. I really think it deserved it. But the interesting thing is Marcus Phoenix is in this cinematic trailer. And Marcus Phoenix looks a little bit younger.
Yes, he does.
So I'm thinking this has got to be a prequel to the Gears of War series. Which very possibly could be. So I'm curious to see if they go full-blown prequel, like pre-Gears of War 1, or if it's somewhere in the middle. But to me, it really does seem like this is a prequel to the entire Gears of War franchise. And to play as a young Marcus Phoenix, let's freaking go, baby.
Oh yeah,
let's go.
I mean, that series is him. You know, like I like the latest game, and you know, you get to revisit some of his. There's some characters that come back in the last few games that have some really poignant moments. But when I think of Gears of War, I think of Marcus Phoenix, and so to think that we might just go back to playing as him and getting to learn more of his adventures before the series started, very interesting. And also just a return of one of the greatest Xbox franchises. You know, they had to come out swinging, and they had to end it with a big piece. And
they sure did.
If it wasn't, if it wasn't going to be a Halo piece, the biggest IP they have is Gears of War. And so I know a ton of people are very, very excited for this one.
Oh my God, yeah, unbelievably excited.
And that was it. That was the Xbox Games Showcase. I think we both agree, but I think by far they've ran away with the best showcase this year as of yet. You know, Nintendo could just mysteriously drop one and kill it, and we're actually hoping.
I hope so.
We're hoping they do, because there's some announcements we didn't get.
For our video watchers, I really hope Nintendo Direct.
Yes, there's a specific game we were hoping for that we didn't see.
Silk Song.
Team Cherry, what the hell are you doing?
Team Cherry, we love you.
Keep working on it. So yes, there'll probably be more stuff, but I think Xbox really came out swinging and really showed their best hand
Yes.
Do you agree? If so, let us know in the comments down below. youtube.com/AEW Games. That's where you can watch the video format of All Elite Arcade, as well as all of our other AEW Games projects. So do go in there, drop those comments. Let us know what games you're excited for, as well who you think ran away with the not really championship, but whoever walked away as the very best showcase.
Who stole the weekend?
Yeah, let us know.
Stole the weekend.
Tell us down below. Also, we're actually going to be introducing a new segment on our podcast, the community mailbag segment. Now is your chance. You know, we've been wanting to answer questions and talk about video games at large, but a lot of times we just forget that like there's a whole history of video games we could be talking about, and there's subjects that aren't week to week that we could be talking about. What are you curious about, myself, Evil Uno, and the Chugs? Now is your chance to ask. You, the viewer, can submit your questions, and we will choose some to read next week and every week after. That's at tbs.com/arcade mailbag. tbs.com/arcade mailbag. Ask your questions, and we will be answering them on future episodes of All Elite Arcade.
And we are very excited about that. So please ask away.
Yes, please. And it only helps us for our podcast, and also it only helps us have some very interesting conversations. So please do help us out. Make sure you send out your questions. Hey, it's still June. There's still some exciting stuff to come. Maybe Nintendo Direct is dropping some stuff. We've got Ubisoft 4, but there's a couple other showcases. So next week's episode of All Elite Arcade, we will be talking more announcements. Make sure you hit that follow button, that subscription button, or go and download and subscribe to our podcast channels, be it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you may find our podcasts. They are available everywhere. We appreciate you all. Thank you so much for listening to us. It's been an immense success for us and an immense great time. We love talking to each other about video games, and we're glad that you're along for the ride. So do be back next week because we have so much more to talk about. See you then.